Pawn to d4. Pawn to d5. Pawn to c4. Pawn to c4. Queen's Gambit accepted. It couldn't be another opening in the Women's World Cup final. Pawn to e4. Grabbing central space and opening the light-squared bishop. Pawn to e5. Hitting the center, taking advantage that the queens are looking at each other through X-rays. Lichess calls this the central variation. McDonnell defense. Knight to f3, attacking e5 and defending d4. Bishop to b4. Knight to c3. Knight to f6. Black sacrifices the e5 pawn but attacks the weak e4 pawn. Knight to e5. Pawn to b5. Bishop to e2, sacrificing the e4 pawn. White prepares short castle and enables another diagonal for the bishop. Black to play. What a move. If knight to e4, a good move. Getting out of the pin and safekeeping the king. Bishop to a3 with equality. White wins the exchange, but black has two pawns as compensation. Bishop to b7 was played in the game. Black prefers to increase the pressure on e4. King to g1. Bishop to c3. Move 8 and we reach a new position. There are not games from here in the Lichess Masters database. Pawn to c3. Knight to e4. Bishop to a3, cutting off the black king's path to castling. Black to play. What to move? If knight to d7, there is no rush to castle. Cutting off the sight of the a3 bishop. Knight to d6, a obvious move, was played in the game. The horse comes to the rescue of his king by blocking the sight of the dangerous a3 bishop. However, now black's position becomes passive and it doesn't feel good. All white pieces are active while black is still undeveloped. Stockfish gives an evaluation of 1.2 in favor of white. Bishop to f3. Queen to c8. Black can exchange bishops because her rook is still in the corner. White to play. What to move? If rook to b1, a great move. Removing the defender of b5 and b7. Using the pin on the b-file. Knight to d6, white is winning. Knight to c4 was played in the game. A beautiful move that unfortunately is not completely right. White sacrifices the knight to open the b and e files and keep black's king in the center. It seems white got the right idea, but the wrong order. Pawn to c4. Rook to e1. Where should the king go? d8 or f8? Make your choice. Black to play. What to move? If king to d8, a brilliant move. The only way to save the game for black. The king moves to the queen side to let the rook slide to e8. In despite of black's undeveloped pieces, surprisingly Stockfish says this is equal. King to f8, a blunder, was played in the game. White to play. What to move? If queen to e2, a great move. Mounting the rook-queen battery and attacking c4. Black position is delicate. White is threatening to take the d6 knight and then checkmate with queen to e7 followed by queen to e8. Defending e8. Solving the back rank problems and preparing to activate the rook through the 6th rank. Preparing to double on the e-file. Queen to b7, white is winning. Bishop to b7, a blunder, was played in the game. Again, white got the right idea but the wrong order. Now the position is equal again. Queen to b7. Queen to e2, threatening checkmate. Knight to c6. The only move, black has to defend the 8 rank. Note that the d6 knight is pinned so it doesn't protect e8. Pawn to d5. Black to play. What to move? If knight to a5 a mistake. Bishop to d6 white is winning. The bishop is untouchable because of the checkmate on e8. Pawn to h5 was played in the game, solving the back rank problems and preparing to lift the rook to h6. Rook to b1. Queen to a6. Bishop to d6. Pawn to d6. Pawn to c6. Queen to c6. Black is a pawn up, but white still has a more active position. Rook to b4. Rook to c8. The rook protects c4 but leaves the a7 pawn unguarded. Queen to e7. King to g8. Queen to a7. The material is equal again and white got a passed pawn on the a file. But black is catching up in development. Rook to h6. Pawn to h4. Rook to g6, threatening checkmate on g2. Pawn to g3. Queen to f3. Rook to e3. Queen to d1. King to g2. Queen to d5. King to g1. Queen to d1. King to g2, gaining some time on the clock. White has near 3 minutes on the clock while black 11. Queen to d5. King to g1. Queen to d1. King to h2. White only has 1 minute and 29 seconds on the clock, but doesn't want the draw, and keeps fighting. She hopes to repel black's attack and win with the a pawn. Rook to f6. Rook to b2. Queen to f1. Rook to e2. Rook to c5. One more piece comes to attack f2. Queen to a8. King to h7. Pawn to f4. Who solves all problems? Freya to f-pawn. Pawn to d5. Rook to e8. Rook to b5, a great move, dragging the rook out of the defense of the second rank, and forcing the perpetual check. Rook to h8. King to g6. Rook to b5. Queen to f2. King to h3. Queen to f1. King to h2. Queen to f2. King to h3. Queen to f1. King to h2. Queen to f2, and black draws by perpetual check. Divya missed her first bullet. A very tactical game. All black's troubles started when her knight moved back to d6 with the idea of blocking the a3 bishop. White sacrificed a knight to leave black's king in the center. But after some inaccuracies, black managed to defend and catch up in development.